What's up, everybody? Merry Christmas to everyone. Yeah, here we are, December 25th, and we're back with the last segment of the Kensington Wine Market 2020 whiskey calendar. Don't know why I had to look at that right there to know what I'm talking about, but yeah, I started this morning with Baileys and coffee and have been drinking all day. That's my excuse, and I'm sticking to it. Anyway, before we get started, I just wanted to shout out Victoria Highland Games. This was the shirt I decided to wear today because it's the only Highland Games that I got to do in 2020. And I'm a pretty big deal because I won it. So that makes me the current Victoria Highland Games champion. Anyway, yeah. Of course, they weren't allowed to have a full games with like pro class and stuff like that. But still, bragging rights, right? Anyway, yeah. Here's to hoping that 2021 will allow us to gather again in some respects for whiskey tastings and heavy events and hell, just family and friends. So yeah, so there's that. Anyway, so yeah, so the last 5 days of the whiskey calendar are as such. So we're going back to day 21. So the 21st of December was another expression from That Boutique Whiskey Company. And this is a 31-year-old single grain from Strathclyde Distillery. And that was pretty special to be able to, any chance you get to try an older aged expression is a good chance. Strathclyde is a single grain distillery that goes into blends, and so it's not a whiskey that you can just buy a bottling of and try it. So it was really nice to be able to try it for the first time for me, and it was quite lovely. Quite enjoyed it. December 22nd, another Boutique Whiskey Company expression, except this time it was a single malt. And this single malt was a beautiful 10-year-old Bunnahabhain. Cask strength. Oh, sorry, yeah, the Strathclyde was cask strength as well. It is bottled at 45% ABV. Doesn't sound like very high for cask strength, but it's 31 years, right? So there's a rate of evaporation that goes to the angels every year, and because it was in the cask for 31 years, the alcohol percentage was at 45% when they bottled it. This 10-year-old, I'm guessing, was probably a little higher. Cask strength of the 10-year-old Bunnahabhain was 50.5% ABV. And it was a fantastic dram. I really, really enjoyed that. I love Bunnahabhain. They're one of my favorite distilleries. I love how they're unique on Islay because they're not all about the peat. They do have some peated expressions, but their core range pretty much unpeated. But still, for somehow they still manage to have that Islay character even without the peat. So kudos to them, and kudos to Kensington Wine Market and Mr. Ferguson for putting these whiskeys in the calendar. So that was the 22nd. December 23rd was an old friend, Ardmore Legacy. It's a really nice non-age statement, sort of entry-level whiskey from Ardmore, and kind of cool because you can't really get a lot of Ardmores in BC. And it's also kind of unique because it's a peated, or lightly peated, I guess you'd say. But it's a peated expression, but not from Islay. So it's fun to try peated whiskies from all over Scotland. New Year's, Christmas Eve was a lovely whiskey from Loch Lomond Distilleries. It was a Loch Lomond 12-year-old. Again, another great sort of flagship whiskey. Nice, easy drinking one. Has some beautiful sort of floral and orchard fruit type notes to it. It was a great dram. And then today, being Christmas Day, We got to dive into the top of the box, which is notoriously an SMWS whiskey. Excuse me. And it is indeed an SMWS whiskey. This one is Society Cask number 72.92. And it's called A Wonderful Welcome. And it is a 7-year-old Milton Duff whiskey. And again, Milton Duff is another one of those distilleries where you can't really go out and buy a bottle of Milton Duff. Most of, if not all, the whiskey they make goes into the blends that you see on your shelf. So it's a real treat to be able to try an expression from Milton Duff. Again, SMWS is all cask strength, and it's all single casks as well. So there's very few bottles of this stuff out there. So again, this one's called A Wonderful Welcome. And I'm just going to read the tasting notes here because I thought it was very good. And I haven't actually tried it yet, so I don't know how accurate the tasting notes are. But I'm going to pour some. Well, actually, I've already got some poured and share it with you right as we speak here. So, fizzy champagne and puff pastry caviar before spicy king prawns in a chili salsa. Diluted, which means you add a couple drops of water, being that this one is also cask strength, which is 62.2%. Vanilla cupcakes and strawberries with cream. Wow, that sounds like dessert. So here we go. Again, there's the color. 7-year-old Milton Duff. Nice light nose. Definitely getting vanilla. It's definitely one I think you would want to add water with and experiment with. Yeah, okay. Definitely. Getting the strawberries and cream even without adding water. There is a coastal kind of salinity or minerality to it. So I can see the king crab or king prawns, pardon me, reference there. There is a bit of a kind of a champagne-y effervescence, pardon me, to the dram. Yeah, delicious. Quite enjoy that. That's very nice. It's always nice to get a chance to try a unique bottlings of SMWS. If anybody's interested in joining the Scotch Malt Whisky Society and having access to these exclusive bottles and tastings, contact here in BC. You'll want to contact Adam Bradshaw at strathliquor.com. And if you're in Alberta, you want to talk to Mr. Andrew Ferguson from the Kensington Wine Market. Also in BC is Legacy in Vancouver, Legacy Liquor Store. They also carry the SMWS line and sign people up into memberships and stuff. So yeah, it's a lot of fun to do the monthly outturns and try all the different whiskeys and have a chance to purchase really unique expressions for whiskey geeks like me. It's fantastic. Okay, so which of these last 5 is my favorite? And then which of my favorite 5s from the whole calendar is my top whiskey of the entire calendar? Well, I'm just trying this one for the first time, so I have to give it a chance. As much as I love a good cask strength SMWS whiskey, I'm gonna have to go with another that boutique dram for the last 5. And I'm going to have to say the Bunnahabhain 10-year-old for that boutique whiskey company was my top dram in the last 5, with the Milton Tuff being a close second, and then Strathclyde. So, first of all, before I crown the victor, I want to thank Andrew Ferguson and the Kensington staff at the Kensington Wine Market in Calgary, Alberta, for putting this calendar together. I did a little, with our whiskey club, I did a little 12 grams of Christmas kits and this year, and it was successful and a lot of fun, but I now know how much work goes into putting these things together. So I want to thank them, and kudos to a lot of the whiskeys in the calendar, some fantastic whiskeys that I had never tried before, and that was really cool. So cheers to you. And now for the crowning of the victor. So to recap, my top 5 favorite drams of the 2020 Kensington Wine Market calendar was a Cambus boutique whiskey company, Cambus 27-year-old. That's a single grain whiskey. The classic Lefroy 10. The Glenfarclas 25, which was amazing, and I have some more in there, which I'm going to do something with a little later, maybe even for New Year's. Another boutique whiskey company, Jura 20-year-old. And finally, from this segment, that boutique whiskey company, Bunnahabhain 10-year-old. So, one might say that it is definitely, this calendar is a that boutique whiskey Christmas. But I would have to say, the one that stood out to me the most for the entire duration of this month, of the 25 days of whiskey, has to be the Jura 20-year-old. That boutique company, Jura 20. And that's the backside of it right there. That one's bottled at 48.2%. And it was an absolute amazing whiskey. I went onto the Kensington Wine Market website to see if I could get myself a full-size bottle of it, and I couldn't find it. So if anybody knows where I can get my hands on a bottle of it, I would very much like to know. But you can, looks like you can get these small bottles there. So, yeah, that's my favorite out of the whole calendar. Again, thank you guys all for tuning in, and I hope you enjoyed it. And I hope you guys have a great new year, and all the health to you. Cilantro.